Welcome to Unclogged Conversations, powered by Larry Stinson Plumbing.
You just see these little brown balls on little strings attached to our metal cable, and the cable's spinning. So these things are just windmilling. And I mean, we pulled hundreds. Had to have been hundreds out.
We're back today. I'm Larry Stinson. This is Scott. Nice flush. Today we're talking about filtration systems. Halos especially. That's the one we highly recommend. There's a lot on the market out there today, but Halo seems to do the best in our experience. And so, Scott, what's a filtration system?
I mean, filtration system's there to make your water safe. That's the whole point of it. You know, water has probably killed more people than just about anything. I mean, you get all kinds of diseases and bacterial growth and just all kinds of things you can imagine polluting your water.
But if it's not just diseases and growth, what does it do to your plumbing system?
Oh, and well, honestly, don't put a filter in. That way we can come out all the time for you. I mean, it eats up all your fixtures. It eats up the insides of your toilet. It destroys your water heaters faster. I mean, it is just horrible for the plumbing system when you get into the bad, hard waters. And it just causes a lot of damage everywhere.
The number one thing I think it tears up, besides water heaters, we'll touch a little bit on that here in a little bit, but dishwashers. People go burn through more dishwashers, I believe, because of hard water, bad water quality.
And I believe it.
And then when they call a plumber and get a quote on what it takes to replace a dishwasher, they're floored. Because, I mean, it's an hour and a half of labor, at least. I mean, good one, good day, you can do it in an hour, 45 minutes an hour.
Yeah, if everything goes right.
But the hard water just destroys dishwashers because they run on such high heat. They got booster pumps inside of them.
You open them half the time, you see that white scale all built up inside all of it. It's like, well, you know that's in the pipes underneath it as well.
Yep. I mean, when we do reroutes and it's from slab leaks and stuff, and you cut them pipes open, you see all that buildup inside the copper pipes, and you're like,
yeah.
I mean, it took me years to figure out. I just thought it was bad copper, to be honest with you, when I was younger.
Yeah.
But the more that we've learned and studied and been trained, the filtration system, it can actually clean them pipes to where they look almost brand new.
Yeah.
If you go to the right system.
Yes.
And so the biggest thing is what does it take to, so you call the plumber to your house because you have stinky water or hard, bad tasting water. What's the first thing a plumber's going to do?
I mean, really the first two things you're going to do is, one, probably look at the water heater. But the first thing you should do is water test. I mean, you need to know what's coming out of those taps, what's going into that water heater, what's coming out of those fixtures.
And when in our company, and a lot of companies, most companies, they can do a chlorine test and check your chlorine and tell what the city's doing to alter the water.
Yes.
To make it where it doesn't kill you.
Which chlorine is important, keeps you safe, but at the same time, it's kind of like chemo. I mean, you need that chemo to keep something from killing you, but it's also bad for you.
Yeah, and I mean, these cities are cranking high levels.
And they are, because they are just having to push water further and further and further.
And we're getting more and more reclaimed water.
Yeah.
We're pumping reclaimed water back into our lakes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I live in Parker County, and they're even doing it in Lake Weatherford.
Yeah.
And so on the north end of the lake, this reclaimed water from the sewer treatment plant comes in, and they pump the water that you drink out of the south end of the lake. And that is not a very big lake.
Yeah.
And so the only way they defeat making sure nobody gets sick off that is pump chlorine in it and make it where it's, tolerable for your health. Well, chlorine does horrible things to your body.
Yeah.
And so these filtration systems, they can take a lot of that out and filter your water and make it clean. And that's why we recommend the Halo.
Yes.
which is this is the Halo sediment trap or sediment filter.
And we couldn't get the whole big one in here.
But that is a pre-filter.
This is your first line of defense.
Yeah, that catches any debris and dirt, and if they're working on the water line downstream and it busts and they come out and they fix the water line, that'll catch any of the dirt and stuff.
If you ever gone and taken your toilet tank off and you see, like, how did sand get in there? Mm-hmm. If you had one of these, that wouldn't have happened.
So after sediment filter, what would you be the next step?
Your next step, but then you'd go to the actual well. Really, depends on if you're on well or city. If you're on city, we can generally just look up the report.
Yeah.
And just pull a report, tell you what you need, move on from there. If you're on a well, we highly recommend you send it off, because then we're going to be able to figure out exactly what you need to make it the best water possible. But then next you're going to go to your actual filtration unit. This is just to get the big stuff out. Then you're going to go to your either Halo 2.0 or your Halo 5. And then they also make the Halo 5 with a softener if you've got super hard water. I actually installed the Halo 2.0 at my house. Thought it was going to be a hard sell on the wife. It was not. All she had to hear was hair, teeth, and nails getting absolutely gorgeous and beautiful just by living life in your house.
So
and
we
sold her on it.
I helped you put that in. That was one of our first Halo products that we put in. That was 6, 7, 8 months ago. Mm-hmm. What do y'all think about it now?
Oh, I love it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. My wife should be on their payroll as the amount she goes around advertising it. She loves it. She's like, my hair has never been so strong. My nails have never been so clear.
The biggest thing about the Zero that I was amazed with was the simplicity of the installation.
Yes.
We buried it in your front yard right by your customer cutoff.
Yeah, just right next to the water line, right before it went in the house. We buried it. You only have to leave about 18 inches sticking up. So you need a fake rock or some kind of planter or something to cover it with. But not really an eyesore if you do it right. And, we can move it. We could have moved it further.
Yeah.
I like knowing right where it's at and easy to get to right in front of my house. No power, no drain.
That's the coolest thing.
That's what sold me on it. Like, hey, I can do this in an hour or two myself, and it's not going to be that big of a deal, minus the digging.
Yeah, but we took about a couple hours max.
Yeah, but I didn't need an electrician. I don't have to worry about where water's dumping to all the time. It just set it and forget it.
Well, that's one of the cool things, I think, is you don't need to regen it. Mm-hmm. I have another brand of softener that I installed before we started installing the Halos, and I knew much about the Halos, and I'm not 100% satisfied with it, but it does better than what we had before. But I have a well, and so I had to move it outside my well into another building because I had to have power to run the regen, where it regens every so many gallons or every so much time. It'll regenerate itself. The Halo Zero doesn't need that.
No.
And it's the Halo Ion that allows that, is a big chunk for what allows that.
Yeah.
And so when I installed a Renai tankless in my house, I also put that Ion. You can add that Ion onto your tankless water heater, and supposedly, it's not per manufacturer codes on most water heaters, but you'll never have to flush the tankless.
Yes.
Now, the manufacturers still tell you need to, but Halo says you'll never have to. And I've noticed the difference with that Ion on our house. So, I had the filtration system for about a year before I did the Ion. And my hot water is totally different than it was before I did that.
Yeah.
I had a Renai tankless before I installed that tankless. So it wasn't the tankless, it was the Ion.
And that Ion just sits there and strips all them hard minerals out that'll just eat machines.
And the Zero comes with that built into it, which is what's cool. And the 5 has it in it.
Yeah.
And so the big deal with the difference with the 5, what's your warranty? Is 10-year on your?
Yeah, it's 10 years.
10-year on the Zero, and 15 on the 5.
I need to look that up.
I'm not positive, but I think it's 15.
Yeah.
But we got a project coming up soon that's on the well, and that's what this is actually for, that Halo sediment. And they're on a well in one of our rural towns here. It's actually a public well where it's metered water.
Multiple people using, but it's still a well.
Yeah. And so we did a water test, sent it off. The water test takes about 3 to 5 weeks to get back.
Yeah.
That's the downside. I wish it was faster.
Yeah.
But it came back, and so we sent a water report to Halo, our Halo rep, and he came back after discussing with Halo, and this is what they said. They said they needed a sediment filter, a Halo 5 with a softener, and an RO system on the kitchen sink if they wanted truly drinkable
Yes.
water.
And their RO system also adds back alkaline.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're getting even higher dollar water.
Yeah.
This is to get the absolute perfect system. But, I mean, the whole reason we did the water test for them and flipped out the water heater for them is because their water ate a 5-year-old water heater.
And I'll show you, we'll put some pictures on here of the 5-year-old water heater, and the anode rod was completely gone.
Gone.
5 years.
And the anode rod's what keeps it. I mean, I guess we're going to get into this on a later one, but
Yeah.
that's what keeps it alive.
Well, that's what protects the metal inside the tank.
Yeah.
Like so.
And if you're not pulling enough metals out, and it'll just eat your water heater, and then that's a
but I had
nice
never,
expense.
I had never seen an anode rod gone like that in 5 years.
Yeah. So I mean, he kind of needs the above and beyond system. Yeah, you know, your normal city dweller's not gonna.
No.
I mean, generally the 0 is gonna be good. If you go with the 5, it's just gonna be probably life changing.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people don't like to think that way about their water, but it really does make a difference.
Well, I mean,
you're not having to fix your sinks every year. Your shower heads flow smoother all the time.
Water heaters last longer.
Water heater lasts longer. I mean, I know I'm a plumber. I do it for a living. I don't change out a water heater. No.
and so we had to change his water heater out during this waiting period of waiting for test results to get it back. And he was really concerned after we talked to him about, you know, what his anode rod looked like and stuff. He's like, I don't even want to really do this water heater just yet, but it's leaking now. I was like, we'll get to the filter as soon as we can, but
you need hot water.
you need hot water.
And that's also back to what's awesome about the filtration unit is it has high potential of cleaning out the damage that's been done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it will.
I mean, even if he's going to have that water heater in there for a few weeks, once that filter gets in there, those problems will all slow down or stop completely.
Yes.
And so, I'm sold on him.
So, we learned something in recent months. One thing you need to do with the filtration system is you need to bypass it.
This is something I didn't know until about a month or two ago. But you need to put chlorine into your water system. You will have random spaces where it's not flowing the water through properly, and you have the chance to build up bacteria. It's like, yes, you filtered it, and you can filter it all you want. Bacteria is bacteria.
Yeah, it's in the water. It's in the pipes.
Yeah, it's there. Nothing you can do about it. The chlorine keeps that from being able to build up and get to dangerous levels.
And what I thought was the most interesting thing that we found is the best time to do it is, say, right before you go on vacation.
Yeah.
Go ahead and run it in a bypass place. Run some water. Let it sit with that chlorine in it. Mm-hmm. I think that's an awesome idea.
And, yeah, just turn 2 little knobs.
Run some water in your house.
Flush some toilets. Turn a shower on for a second. Run a couple sinks. And then leave.
Yeah.
And just let it sit there. They recommend letting it go for a day, but...
I can't see
it's not going to
5 days.
It won't hurt anything. You'll just make sure it's killed, and when you get back home, flick it back to your filter. Within a few seconds, you're back to that gorgeous filtered water.
Yep.
And your pipes are nice and safe and healthy. And
so I think that's one of the big tips that we've learned there. And I think that the Ion and the Zero are two great ways to get around, because if you got the 5, you're required electricity. The difference between the 0 and the 5.
Then you're getting an electrician if it's not somewhere right where there's power, and
we a lot of times we gotta put it. You can't. A lot of times we put it inside the garage so that we can get to power easily.
yeah.
You have to run your main water from your main line to the garage, back to your main line outside. So there's a lot of excavation involved.
Yeah.
We have to figure out a way to eliminate the water from the regen, whether it's.
We have to have some place to dump that. Now, the neat thing about that, though, is the water that's coming out of that drain, is better than the water that went into it. So if you were fine watering your plants with water before, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and have that drain pumped over to a flower bed or a garden or a tree you just planted.
Or we even can put it on the sprinkler head and it'll water a section of your yard.
Yeah.
And not waste that water.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just dumping it in your driveway and it runs down your driveway into the road, that's a waste.
And you just waste. Yeah.
We can run it to a sprinkler head and it waters a section of your yard every time it regens once a month. And you don't waste that water. Yeah. That's one cool thing I like. That's the one ideas that we were proposed by Halo, and I'm like, that's cool. I never thought of that.
Yeah, because we were sitting there, man, where you got to run this drain, and then when they went into, it's like, use it for watering.
Well, I can't tell you how many times we ran into a sewer system and just dumped it in the sewer system.
Yeah.
And it's just complete waste.
Yeah.
Straight from the filter, filtered water, straight from the filter into a sewer system and out and down and gone, and you just wasted, gallons of water that didn't even do anything. It was already somewhat clean.
Yeah, you already paid for it. Yeah. It came through that water meter. You already paid for it.
So, filtration systems came a long ways, and they're not cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the downturn to them is, a lot of times better for you products are not cheap. I mean, when you go buy the
buy once, cry once.
When you go buy the organic meats and that stuff, it's just a whole lot more than the cheap meat at Walmart.
Yeah.
But it's better for you and your family, and then you gotta weigh what you want. I mean, buying bottled water is not cheap either, and an RO system will replace bottled water hands over fist in a matter of time.
Yeah, it won't take long. I mean, in a case of water, that builds up fast.
And so, you kind of got to decide where you want to put your money. But we truly believe we both have filtration systems in our houses. Truly believe it helps the.
Maybe a little biased because we're in the plumbing field, like we work with water, but get a filter. Even if it's not a Halo, get some kind of filtration system. You don't really know what's coming through that pipe unless you're looking at reports every month.
No, unless you go cut your pipes open.
And really what's in there now, just because it's what came through the city, you have 30-year-old water that ran through there at one point.
Even the first 10 years of my 10-plus years of my plumbing, I didn't realize what caused that.
Yeah.
No, I do. I thought it was just electrolysis and stuff like that. I didn't realize it was
scale buildup.
Yeah.
That's just stuff that gets left behind.
So, filtration systems. We'll post some more stuff, some pictures and stuff of some of the jobs that we did. And we will just show the benefits to some of the reports that we've done. Where are we at?
Any stories?
Okay, but where are we at in the time wise?
19 minutes.
Pretty damn good.
That's pretty good.
All right. What's this segment called?
Leak Lounge.
Leak Lounge? Okay. All right. You ready? All right. So now time for a little bit of Leak Lounge.
So this week on the Leak Lounge, going to go over, and this one is a specific story about the dangers of feminine products. Now, there's all kinds of dangerous things that you can put down your sewer, but this one is anecdotal. I experienced this myself, and I don't know, I'll never get the image out of my head. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. So, get called out to a customer's house. House is stopped up. Okay, we walk his whole property, can't find any cleanouts. Pier and beam house, we end up finding a way to snake it from underneath the house. The whole thing was a nightmare. You know, well, we were going through toilets, going through everything. We could not get this thing cleared. We just kept running this cable. We kept running this cable, and we'd never hit the end. Even tried jetting it. Jetting it didn't get us anywhere. And I was like, that's impossible. I have 100 feet of jetter. Well, finally, we managed to just start walking around this house because we didn't know what to do. Couldn't figure out where the sewer line came out. Ended up just running a camera, actually, tracing the camera head all the way out. And finally, we found where the sewer line came out the side of the house. And we started poking around with our probing rod. Finally, there's the clean outs. We take that clean out cap off. Just
sewer rats.
Volcanoes up over. All the nasty you could think of.
The true term of sewer rats.
Yeah. So then we take our big old sewer machine and we're like, all right, well, now at least we're kicking off half the pipe. So we send that cable on down there, and I just hit hard spot after hard spot. But every time I hit them, I was like, oh, there it is. But I go right through. Just keep going. But I couldn't believe how many hard spots I was hitting. And finally, the thing kind of relieves a little, but it's still kind of holding water. And so I start bringing it back. And as this thing's coming out, you just see these little brown balls on little strings attached to our metal cable. And, you know, the cable's spinning. So these things are just windmilling. And, I mean, we pulled hundreds. Had to have been hundreds out. Now, I should also probably note, this was a single dad with 3 teenage daughters.
Yep.
And those were not originally brown.
Been there for a long time.
So I had to go have a very fun conversation of telling this guy that, hey, you need to go have a conversation with your daughters, because I'm not having that conversation with your daughters. You can't flush these. I'm sorry. But I mean hundreds. I sat there all night long with a knife, me and my apprentice, just cutting tampons off this damn cable and throwing them into a bucket. It was a pretty disgusting night.
So, do not flush tampons, Phenomene products, maxi pads, bananas.
Because if you do, you'll probably be calling us out, and you never know when your story will get told in podcasts.
That's it.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
How did you tell him? Like, how did you approach him about it?
Okay. So I just had to come. I mean, at this point, you know, I know what it is. I know what the problem is, and I've got to go tell this guy. So I just go up to him. At this point, I already know he's got teenage daughters. So I was, sir, I need to show you something. So I had him come with me. He looks at my cable, because I hadn't started cutting them off yet. Looks at my cable, and he's like, what is that? And I reached down, snicked one off, and held it a little closer, and he goes, I said, my entire cable, sir. I said, it's finally draining once I got... They were working as a plug, like one long plug down there. So it did not drain until I got my cable out of that system. But yeah, I was just, sir, I'm sorry. You're going to have to go have a talk with him. And he's just like, oh my gosh, I've had this talk. And then he's just like, well, it is what it is, but they paying for it next time if this happens again.
That'll break them.
So then that leads me to my next question. How much did I have to pay for that job?
I'm sure it was around $300 probably.
That one ended up being a bit more, just because we tried the sewer machine, couldn't get the sewer machine. Then we had the jetter going. Jetter wouldn't get it. Then we had to do the camera and run the locator, and had to pull and reset a toilet at the beginning.
Now you're pushing $1,000.
And it did. And this was several years ago, so the prices weren't quite the same now. But yeah, we did hit about, I want to say it was that $700 to $800 mark. And again, this was 7 years ago when $700-800 was worth a lot more money.
Yeah. Yeah, now $700-800 don't get you very much for the plumber.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the inflation, but
So with inflation, how much do you think that would cost?
I'd be
now
$1,400-1,500.
Yeah, I mean at least 12. At least 12 nowadays. And it's just or you could throw in the trash.
Yeah.
Or you can call me out and do it. I don't mind coming and doing it, and I'll have the awkward conversation with
Well,
you.
my biggest thing with drain cleaning, we'll do more on drain cleaning, but my biggest thing with drain cleaning is people know their drains are giving them a problem. And they wait until it completely stops.
Yes.
If you would call me when it starts slowing down, I promise you I can save you money. But you wait till it completely stops and it becomes an emergency.
Can save a lot of time and a headache if I can kind of see.
Yeah.
But if it's completely jammed, all I see is brown water.
Uh-huh.
I said, sorry, y'all.
You can tell when that toilet's not flushing like it's supposed to. If you've been in that house more than a year.
When you hear that random gurgle
When you hear
in your shower.
When you flush that toilet, that shower goes, whoop, you might want to call a plumber then.
Yeah.
Not just go, oh, well, it'll fix itself.
Try to get out ahead of it. Because, yeah, you're not going to like me when I come and tell you what I have to tell you.
So that's one of my, I wouldn't say pet peeves, but that's one of my things.
Just stay on top of it, and
Yeah.
I won't have to do this to you, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than we do with our own bodies, but
It's true.
if you ignore it, the problem's got to go away, right?
Yeah. I'll just go away. You never end up at the doctor bankrupt.
No. All right, so next episode we'll do high pressure water. It'll follow up with the filtered water with high pressure water and the dangers of that. And got some cool stories about that. I look forward to that. There's a lot of thermal expansion.
Pressure's no joke.
I mean,
And it takes a while to wrap your head around some of it.
toilets keep needing to be rebuilt, those type of things. So that'll be a fun one. So had a decent sized chunk out of sheetrock, and if they've left it probably another couple of days, it'll bore a hole into that sheetrock.
Nope.
Flooded this 4,000 square foot house. I mean, flooded.
Oh, I bet.
It was on the second floor.
Oh, of course. Everything got.
And it was all because way too much water pressure. So we thank you for joining us in Unclogged Conversations, and we look forward to hearing from you next week. Again, please hit the subscribe and like button and to follow. And thank you very much. Larry Stinson, Scott.